I got you for sure, bro.
Let me get that.
Stop playing with me, bro. You good?
What's the deal?
Hey.
I just want to hear if this story is going to change.
Yo, we gotta shut shit down. Come on.
Killing me. Next question? Maybe next time.
All right. Assalamu alaikum, my brother.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah. What's going on? Huh?
Everything's good, alhamdulillah, man. This is thank you for, coming on to this podcast, and it's something that I wanted to do for a while, but I had to make sure I get everything right. And I've been just watching you doing your thing, and I'm like, yeah, I definitely got to do something with this brother. And inshallah, I was like, we guys got to make it happen. You know what I'm saying?
True. The pleasure's all mine. Trust me.
Yeah, absolutely. Introduce yourself to those who may not be familiar with you and your work.
Yeah. Okay, my name is Hafiz. Pen name Hafiz Shakur. I wrote, directed a feature film called Sincere Love Hella Right. I have 2 TV series called Hustlerz Paradise. The first season 1 was 8 episodes, 8 30 to 40-minute episodes, and then season 2 was 5 30 to 40-minute episodes. So right about now, I got a feature film and 13 episodes in my pocket, and I'm currently working on another project called Blood on the Crown.
So many people want to pursue these type of things, like, have a film project out there or even like a series, and you have complete projects. That is one thing that was really highly impressive, to know someone that actually in the field that has projects that is complete. You know what I'm saying? And that's just something that I want to commend you on, having finished product.
Appreciate it.
So you have roots both in Bermuda and in Newark, New Jersey. How
True.
was that transition from Bermuda to Newark?
I guess the better question would be, how was the transition coming back? I left Bermuda when I was 2.
Oh,
So if you ask me, I'm from Newark. I was born in Bermuda, raised in Newark, and I came back to Bermuda about 13 years ago. So it was more of a transition coming back than it was going.
okay. So like what were the like the cultural differences, or some of the major cultural differences, and how do you adapt, like coming from Brick City to Bermuda?
It took some time, some getting used to. Just a conservative, laid back atmosphere. I'm used to the rat race in North. Everything is on go. Everybody got their foot to the pedal. Down here is conservative and everyone's laid back. So much so that it actually affects the works that I put out, because they're so conservative. Everyone kind of like scrutinizes the content. It's hard getting sponsors and all of that, but it's like they're getting used to it now. One thing about me, coming from North, persistent, determined, self-motivator, and I'm gonna push the envelope a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of noticed that, like when I moved back to Bermuda, it was like, yeah, pretty much the same. Like I would say like maybe 14 years ago. I moved back in '09, and I was
Okay.
working with my dad, and then me and another brother, we had a shop there in town. And I also noticed it was a lot, because here in New York, the same as in Newark, everything is fast paced. So we're
Yeah.
like 24/7, and everyone there in Bermuda is kind of like how it is in the South a little bit. It's like laid back on their
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
that was very frustrating in the beginning, and then a cousin of mine who lived down there, he actually told me, he was like, well, whatever you have in your mind of New York, you got to get that out of your mind because you're
Yeah,
here in Bermuda. So that kind
yeah,
of helped me through my whole transition and
yeah,
everything. You know what I'm saying? So I completely understand
yeah.
what you're talking about, where you're coming from.
Everything closing at 5 o'clock. It's like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Don't get hungry after 9 o'clock. You just go bite your fingernails.
exactly. Or make that trip to the gas station in
Right,
town, and that's pretty much
right.
it.
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
So
Uh,
like so alhamdulillah, you're a Muslim brother, and coming from Newark, I know there's a lot of Muslims out there. Like how was that experience growing up as or being a Muslim and coming from Newark, and then just the whole community life there in Newark?
okay, so same like you, my grandfather, he was my grandmother when we moved to Newark, my grandmother married a Muslim. He was actually in the Nation of Islam at first. So that was our introduction, right? Like most people living in Newark, the nation was heavy in Newark. Um, and then, as most places, they transitioned from the nation to Warping to the Hawk, right? What we know to be the Hawk. And so growing up, I always had the influence. My grandfather had plenty of books, Message to the Black Man, How to Eat to Live, all of those books. Growing up, walking past them books every day. In elementary school, looking at these books. Finally, in high school, paging through them. And then I started to see the transition where the teenagers was gravitating towards five percenters, right? So that was heavy in my community amongst my age group. So if to put it in perspective, kind of had like the older, our grandfathers, guys my father age, they would have been in the nation. And then a lot of the teenagers, guys my age at the time, was five percenters. And then from there, um, I started to gravitate more and more as I started to read and learn more about the dean. Uh, my grandfather passed, and then I officially took my shahada down here when I came to visit, and and it's been there, it's been up ever since.
Alhamdulillah. So what is the life like the Muslim life, the whole transition for you and the comparison from Newark to Bermuda, like the Muslim life, like what's the community life there? How is it different from back home in Newark?
You have your pros and cons. Uh, because it's a small community, it's tight knit. Everyone knows everyone. Um, that makes celebrating Ramadan even more personal, right? And you really get to feel the camaraderie, the brotherhood. So that's beautiful. Uh, but then I guess me having spent some time behind bars, I understand that next level of brotherhood where we got everyone back and brothers is checking you for not coming to Juma. And so down here, what you find as opposed to back home, the whole community is the whole community is Muslim for the most part. The whole community, all my friends, my whole circle is Muslim. Down here, it's still I don't want to say in its infant phase, but it's still not widely accepted. It's still foreign to a lot of people down here. It seems as though, right? Um, to the point where down here, when they think of Islam, the first thing they think of is the nation, right? And so just enlightening people on that, the other younger brothers saying like, it's okay to be Muslim. Like it's not foreign. You don't have to feel like you're being ostracized or you're a weirdo or anything like that.
Hmm.
I understand how deep about being strangers, but uh, it's just getting them to understand the seriousness of the brotherhood as well down here for the younger generation.
Mhm.
That's when me and a couple other brothers managed to put a class together on Sundays just to get the young brothers to come in, learn the dean a little bit more, and also build camaraderie, right? So now when you see your brother on the street. You're not bashful to get us salams, and you got his back if something goes down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, alhamdulillah. That's like with my dad's generation, them coming from the nation, and they had that camaraderie. And me growing up
Right,
in the masjid there and in Bermuda and in New York and Malcolm Shabazz, we had that. Like
right,
this was like in around the time in the 80s or whatnot, telling our
right.
age and everything. But
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, but we had that. So even like growing up in Bermuda, like I'm gonna be real with you, all my Muslim friends are the ones from Bermuda. Like that I keep
Okay,
in touch with, like Nasheed Umrani,
okay.
Talib, these are like, and Johnny, those are the guys that I really, and I mean, but we
Right,
didn't
right,
grow up
right.
together, but
True, true, true.
Bermuda wise, like you guys are the ones that stay in touch, like we communicate with or whatnot. And
Okay.
and I feel you on that whole brotherhood camaraderie, because sometimes you find it's a little difficult to get that. Like here in
Yeah,
New York, I try that with some of the brothers here. Usually the ones at the mash it, they're younger than me, so they have their own little clique thing they be doing and everything like that.
yeah,
So but they still give respect and everything. So then being a married man, I'm kind of like work with my wife, and that's it. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
Because
right,
everything is hustle and bustle. So it's not like I ain't got time to kick it with the ox. Like
right.
no more. Like when I was in 20s, yeah, we got chilling all day, all night. But
Yeah,
now it's a different ball game. So yeah, I understand. And now I'm happy that you guys are actually doing things to kind of bring in the youth, because this generation, they're a little different from us.
definitely.
You know, even the way they think and everything. Like, what I love about them is they don't really have that like, coming from an Afro-American perspective, they don't have that baggage that the older generation may have put on us when it comes to, like, as we would call it, a slave mentality or
Yeah,
whatnot.
yeah,
So they don't really have that, you know what I'm
yeah.
saying? But what they lack is a lot of the guidance, you know what I'm
Yes,
saying? But
yes,
once they
yes.
had that guidance, man, they own it. You know
Yeah.
what I
And then
mean?
the other thing, what I had learned down here, what I had uh, came across was that the younger generation, their only example of a Muslim was looking at your father and the older brothers, right?
Hmm.
So they pretty much just in the throw all day, just chilling, right?
Yeah.
So the younger generation, they're not seeing the swag that you
No.
might be able to, you might, I seen you for Ramadan, I mean, you had it on, right? So they not used to that. So now this is what I was trying to show them, like, oh, you ain't gotta, you could still rock the throw with the J's. It's okay. Like,
Exactly.
yeah. So alhamdulillah, like now they starting to see it. So the shahadas is coming in. I think, and I really believe that they identify with it and they're like, oh, okay, all this time I thought I had to look like that, but I can be me and okay, cool, all right, you know what I mean? So alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
And the cool thing, what also like about what you got going on is your entrepreneurial spirit and your do for self mentality. And that's another thing that attract these young folk, because nowadays this is what they're on. You
Right,
know what I'm
right, right,
saying?
right, right,
So,
right.
like
Yeah,
you have your brand on and everything, and then they seeing that and like, okay, I never seen it before, because for a lot of youth, they look at the name brands like the Nikes or the Louis and things like that. They see your logo,
right,
like, oh, what's that?
right,
They might not approach you right away with it, but a couple of takes, then they're like, okay, now what you got going on with this?
right. Yeah, yeah. And Nipsey helped that, right? So when Nipsey was talking to do for self and only with my own brand, that just resonated within me. I was already doing that. So they start to actually consistency when they start to see, they see the hats, they see the track suits, and you might see the t-shirts. They like they start to ask questions and I start to sell a couple pieces. But yeah, that entrepreneur spirit that was kind of embedded in me, instilled in me from my uncle growing up in the States. Right. My uncle, he opened up he had the corner store, the deli, right?
Mhm.
Before the bodegas was popping, it was
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You had the Puerto Rican store and you had the Pops Food and Deli. That was
oh
our
yeah,
store in our hood, right? And I'm working in there at the age of 10, 11, 12. I'm behind the counter. I'm working the slicer. What you want? $5 worth for a sliced turkey. I got you. What you
Yeah.
want, a sub? I got you. Oh, you want to play pickets? Let me go over here to the picket machine. What you want? Oh, 35 box, straight box, all of that. So I grew up doing all of that. So it just stuck with me in school. I'm selling candy. My uncle, he was the type from the old school. He like, look, he ain't paying me a check. He like, look, go get a soda, some chips, some candy. That's my pay. I don't slave 12 hours. He like, yeah, get a soda, get a sub, get some candy.
Yeah.
He might give me $20 back then, right? So I would take that candy and I would go to school and I would sell the candy, quarter for this, 10 cents for these, remember the jingles and all of that, 10 cents for this. And then when I think back, I had a run where I linked up with a guy. He was like an artist. He used to draw. This was probably like 5th grade, 6th grade. He used to draw. And my mom, she did like data entry. So she always had these labels for envelopes, the little label, the mailing labels. I took a sheet of those one time because, on recess, we used to play football out there in the concrete, scratching up your knees, getting scratches. I started making Band-Aids, right? Started making Band-Aids, selling Band-Aids for 25 cents. I would have him draw on them. I'll pay him to draw on them. And then after lunch, after recess, people like, yo, Beach, you got a Band-Aid? I need a Band-Aid. Yeah, give me a quarter, 10 cents, 5 cents. But it's just been in me, man. It's just been in me. That entrepreneurial spirit is in me. I love it. I'm always thinking of a way,
Cornered the market with them Band-Aids, though.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
You're gonna scrape them knees, you're gonna bleed. Yo,
Yeah,
this is what I got.
exactly. Got word.
Yeah, so early on, like when I was checking your social media, I seen a lot of focus on fitness.
Mhm.
And that is something that is also like, okay, wow, yeah, the brother's staying in shape. And that's another thing, showing the youth as far as like, keeping your body right, being in
Yeah.
shape. Like what inspired you on that journey and like what is your workout regimen?
So I've always been an athlete, playing basketball. Growing up in North, playing basketball, playing little league baseball, playing what else? Football, you know. And then, as you get older, you just narrowed it down to one sport, and I started playing basketball. I went to college football. Got sick when I was 18, and I almost had a bout with colon cancer. Um, yeah, so had that bout, and from there, just always been on working out, just been active, just always been on, working out for a while. I was just big on calisthenics, you know, and then it was probably I'll say about 7 years ago now, where I slowly but surely transitioned to the weights. Right. So now here we are. I just kind of like a hybrid workout. I work out 5 days a week, 2 days off. 4 days I'm hitting the weights. One day strictly calisthenics. Um, and my routine, yeah. So it was like 5 days a week. I do a muscle part a day. And then well, 4 days a week. And then that fifth day, I'm doing calisthenics, the pull-ups, the push-ups, all of that.
Like getting back to your entrepreneurial hustler spirit. So I combined that because a friend of mine's he spent some time in Japan
Mhm.
and I met him when I was doing the capoeira. I had a school doing self-defense
Okay.
and him and I used to chop it up all the time and we talked about like just things about religion. We talked about the Constantinople Nicene Creed. And he was
Mm,
telling me how he did that. That was his thesis. He went out to Turkey in Istanbul. He was for like I think 6 months or whatnot. He was studying out there.
mm,
So that's where he did his thesis on. So we was chopping up on a lot. And he saw me back then doing my thing entrepreneurial style. Like I have my own fitness thing going on as well. And one thing he said to me that kind of resonated as he was telling me about the difference between a hustler and an entrepreneur. And he was like, a hustler is like the nomadic people. You got to go with the food.
Mm-hmm.
In order to eat, you got to go with it.
Okay.
And all the different seasons, you will have like this particular type of food and this particular type of food for the winter. You know what I'm saying? In the summertime, that's what you have. And then he said, a entrepreneur is somebody who's more like a settler. They
Okay.
establish some stuff in one particular area. They start their garden, they start their farm so they can immediately feed themselves with the crops that they have around them. And then they'll go out, go hunting, bring it back. Then they'll go out to establish trades with other settlers or whatnot. So he
Mm-hmm.
was telling me like he asked me the question like, which one are you? And then I mean that kind of hit me for a minute because I was like, dang, I don't even know
Yeah.
because I'm gonna go get it, but I'm also striving to do this entrepreneurial thing. So then he
Yeah.
was like, when you're able to blend the two and make it more like a hybrid, then you have something that a lot of folks don't have.
Mm-hmm.
An entrepreneur that's a hustler,
Mm-hmm.
and a hustler who is an entrepreneur.
Right.
So I
Because
see
not
you.
all. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was getting ready to say, add to that. I've heard the saying, not all entrepreneurs are hustlers, right? So yeah, I agree. I
And
agree.
then, and so I see you going from like selling water to launching clothing brands. Like, what inspired these ventures and how are they progressing?
So I guess I would probably be considered a hybrid. I used to study Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad
Uh,
Poor Dad, right? And then he had the book called The Four Quadrants. So I was always big on, you know, I was always mindful of making that transition from an entrepreneur to a business, right? And eventually hoping to be able to just sit back and just plug and play. So the business is just self-sufficient, you know? And so I've always got that in mind when I'm building these businesses, I'm building these brands. I'm big on, understanding passive income and residual income. Um, these things just live rent free in my head when I'm engaging in these, right? So obviously I have to go with the times where a hard lesson I had to learn was when I opened up a cafe in North called RFL Cafe. And this was, I think we was actually ahead of our time. We used to make wraps. This is now wraps is a big thing. Everyone's selling wraps. But during this time, you're talking, like you said, showing my age, you're talking probably like 20, 23 years ago. My son's 28. We're talking about 23 years ago, 20 years ago, right? We was making wraps and smoothies, RFL Cafe. And where we was located was right across the street from a school. I managed to work a deal out with the school where I could provide like a kids meal or lunch because they didn't have a cafeteria. They actually had kids that they would purchase their lunch from a contractor. They would bring a certain amount of lunches to the school for those kids that purchased. So I had presented an option for the school. Those kids don't want that. They come over here, put their order in, and I give them it was like a half a wrap, a juice box, a fruit, and business was flourishing. School went out for the summer and was like, I didn't plan for this. I didn't, I didn't, I didn't think about this one. Now I got to go with them. Here's where the nomad comes in. At. I got to go with them. Like, all right, yeah, out. We got to figure something out. Everyone's out for this. Everyone's out. Okay, what can we do to attract business? And we sat down and brainstormed. And you know what? Friday night live entertainment for the older crowd. Um, Start bringing in jazz bands, letting them play, and we didn't plan it out long enough. We didn't plan it out thoroughly enough, right? At that time, I had no idea what a business plan was, right? It was just like I wanted to do this. Yeah, it's a good idea. We could do this, that, this, that. But a business plan would have definitely said, okay, if this happens, you're gonna shift gears and you're gonna go this route, right? So, um, and then there was some creative differences because it was four of us involved, and then so we end up shutting down. You know, we end up shutting down. But that lesson taught me to think ahead. Like I like this, I like the idea of what I'm having, what I'm going to do in the event that this doesn't work. How can we pivot? You know what I mean? I guess that's the word. How can we pivot? And so in these ventures, I'm thinking ahead. I'm thinking about pivoting. I'm thinking about whether this is seasonal or is it not seasonal because it's just all year round. Um, and then as well as how can we convert this hustle into a business and then sit back and make it plug and play. So that's where the water came in at. Uh, I started a private label, water brand, HGO, right? I don't have any of the bottles here. That's kind of been put on the back burner. When COVID hit, some things got shaken up, and then everybody want to go up on storage prices and shipping prices. And it was actually costing me more money to ship the product here than it was actually costing me for the actual product. You know what I mean? So I had to sit back and rethink that. We just had a conversation with my son. That's definitely something we're going to put back into play. But yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Like, and you mentioned Robert Kiyosaki. Yeah, you know, I was working at the Michelangelo Hotel. I had the opportunity to meet him, and
Mm,
he's a cool dude. And Rich Dad Poor Dad is definitely a good book. But the
yeah,
Cash Flow Quadrant, I read that book multiple times. Out of all the
right.
collections and his crew collections, that book is the one. That's my book out of from
Exactly.
his work. And
Right. Right.
um, and one thing I noticed too, like, and that's what gave me the confidence because people see you doing a lot,
Mhm,
and sometimes it hit or miss. Just like you mentioned about COVID, you have to pivot.
mhm.
So for the average person, they don't understand that failure is not failure.
True. It's a
You understand
lesson.
what I'm saying?
It's up
Because
to you to determine the lesson, to find the lesson.
exactly,
Yeah,
and it puts you above sometimes 98% of the people because a lot of people don't even start.
this is it.
And in our
Yeah.
culture, we have, you know, guys will sit there, they light up a joint and they become Robert Kiyosaki, but they don't do anything.
At all. At all. Not even a book, like at all. Are you absolutely
Nothing,
right, man. You're absolutely right. You're
you
absolutely right.
know. So
Yeah.
I look at that and like they don't even know about branding. Although they live in a branding environment, they watch commercials like anyone else do, but they don't fully understand it because they haven't taken the time to do the research. And
Right.
that's another thing. Like I'm gonna do this. I don't even know how to do it, but I'm gonna do it just because and learn the lesson. So when I do something else, I got some information.
Right.
And one of the most important things I would say is branding. This is what I learned.
Mm.
So for you, like how important is branding for like a creative entrepreneur? Like how does it impact your success even into the film making business?
Okay. So first, I think people need to know the difference between branding and marketing, right? Branding is what they saying about you when you leave the room, right? That was the easiest way I can remember it. Uh, Marketing is what you're saying about the product to get them to buy it, and then branding is what they're saying about you when you leave the room. So branding is me. I am a brand. So when people see me, they see me in my gear. They see the way I carry myself. They see I do straight up business. I'm a straight shooter. So that's my name, right? And who said it? Like all I have is my name. My name is my name, right? So when people see that, now when I present them with something, right? And as Muslims, we believe all we have is our name, right? As well, right? All we have is our integrity, right? So when I present a product, people don't have to question, is this gonna fall apart on me? Is this gonna? They know because my brand has already been established. Uh, Now as we transition into the film, I took the same. Well, I just remember the same concept. The marketing is when I hit them with the trailers and the way I present the trailers. Um, and the branding is what they're saying after they leave the premiere, after they finish watching it. They're saying, yo, I like that. That was some good work. That was this, that was that. So now when I present the next product, they're like, yo, the last movie was nice. They did this, they did that. I like it. I like his movies, or I like his shows. I want to support, you know. So I'm just mindful of that when I get them in. I try to. I've seen plenty of times where people put a trailer together. You can put a trailer together. You do editing, so you know you can put a trailer together and make it look like somebody knocked down Twin Towers, or knocked down something from wherever, however you crafted the trailer. And then when they actually go and watch the film, it's like, oh, this ain't nothing like the trailer is actually more exciting than the film. And so I'm mindful of that. I'm mindful of all of that, right? So when I present a trailer, yes, I want them, the marketing side of it is like, yo, I'm giving them the punches, I'm giving them the theatrics. Oh yeah, okay, this looks like it's gonna be hot. And then I try to be mindful. The goal is once they see it, it lives up to the hype. The show lives up to the hype, and when they leave, they're impressed. And so that's the branding that goes with them. And now they passing the word on for you. And when I present that next product, I won't have no problem selling tickets because they know what type of work I put out. So it's definitely important to understand the difference between marketing and branding.
And that's to give a good example for people out there is like Denzel Washington's in the movie.
Mhm.
Even like, well, I'm talking now, I'm going to like, people know who he is, but I would say like
Right.
Robert De Niro. Many of us will go see a movie just because the names that we know, the brands. Like Denzel, oh, it's
Right.
going to be good because Denzel's in it.
Right. Right.
Like I saw
Right.
one movie, Robert De Niro. I was like, yo, De Niro's in it. I'm there. And he died in
Right.
15 minutes.
Right.
You know, I
Or
said, "Damn,
Tyler Perry. You know what you're going to get with a
exactly.
Tyler Perry movie, right? You know what you're going to
Absolutely.
get, right?
Absolutely.
So,
So that right there is something that I find to be very important when it comes to like, branding, to make sure you stick to what you like, who you are. Because a lot
right.
of times I say, especially for us like as Muslims, it's we're battling with a lot because it's so, especially in the creative space, it's so diverse. So it's kind of like we want to stay with the trends or whatnot, but
Mhm.
we also want to kind of like keep it, be real with ourselves and things like that. So a lot of times, and even like non-Muslims, as people in general, sometimes they battle with themselves instead of
Mhm.
say, hey, you know what, just trust that creative process, explore, and just allow it to happen and then see how things go. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good
So,
point.
and
That's a good point.
mhm.
All right, yo,
No, go ahead,
I'm
go ahead,
saying,
go.
I'm saying that's a good point because now, in the mind frame of branding, thus far, what my signature has come to be is moral dilemmas, right? When you talk about battling within, that battle within yourself, moral dilemmas, all of my films are based on a moral dilemma. So far, that's been my signature. Doing the wrong thing, but for the right reason, right? And when it comes to writing, they teach you to write what you know. I have a degree in my degree is in communication, so I've been writing for a while. But they teach you to write what you know. So growing up in Newark, that's what I know, right? But also having worked for Verizon for 12 years, corporate company, Fortune 500 company, I know how to diversify myself, like, you know what I mean, or switch up when I'm in certain rooms. So with that being said, I understand, like, just that moral dilemma, how to switch it up, show people this, also show people that, and merge the two without contradicting who I am as a person, right? So or what it is I believe in. So some people may get it twisted. That's the problem I'm having now. To them, they think it's glorifying, but I don't think it's glorifying if I'm showing you the pitfalls that come with it,
There you
right?
go.
Definitely not glorifying if I write about someone who came home from prison and got into hustling. But then if I show you what happened on the back end, he got shot at, he got shot, he lost his mother while he was in prison. I'm showing you both sides of the story. I'm not just glorifying one side, I'm showing you the other side as well. So that's been something that I'm big on, moral dilemmas.
I like that you mentioned that because I was doing my promotion of Sincere and the Hustlerz Paradise among some of the brothers that I know here. And one particular brother, he was kind of like he's one of those brothers, he don't know whether or not he want to be in the streets or he want to be a righteous Muslim.
Yeah.
So
No in
is he,
between. No in
in
between.
between, you know what I mean? Yeah, so the brother, because he know me like, and then a lot of times I get kind of judged or people misinterpret who I am because I live a certain way, and then
Mhm.
and that's based off who my father is, right?
Right,
And that
right.
saved my ass out of a lot of problems in life, like because I always thought about him, you know,
Yeah.
taking me out for doing something
Yeah.
stupid.
Okay.
So although
Okay.
like yeah, I'm not a perfect person, like I'm not perfect, but I do try to my best to carry myself a certain way.
Right. As you
So
should.
and a lot of folks they misinterpret, so they think that I might be this, this overall strict type of dude or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So he kind of like when I was promoting your projects, he was like, look at this guy. He's promoting the same street stuff that he don't even like and things like that, right? So,
Yeah.
then I had to get at him, of course, man, because I sometimes I'm just okay, whatever, but then sometimes you gotta like let folks know like what time it is. And
Yeah.
my whole thing when it came to like just, street life and things of that matter is the detriment to the community.
Hmm.
Because coming from that background that we come from, we already know it's a trap.
Right. Right.
So the
Right.
difference between a friend, like some of my boys that was out there in the streets, they didn't really know. They're just like, hey, I got like you said, survival. So
Mhm.
I was never the guy to judge. Like, yo, I understand. Not everybody think or came up this way, and you have to look at the human side of it. And that's what I was trying to express to these guys. Like, I was express to him. And I was like, bro, I understand when if you don't have options. And if you don't have, let's say, a solid foundation or folks that was actually keep you grounded to help you stay on that path.
Right.
Because that path is not is difficult, especially coming from where we come from. And it was
Mhm.
like, nah, I contemplate a whole bunch of things before. And I was like, I know with the dope that's killing that's poisoning the community. I'm not a person going to rob somebody because I understand like, well, I'm going to rob somebody from my community. So I was like,
Yeah.
what, I'll be a hitman. Tired of these niggas anyway now. So it was the best. I this guy's crazy, right? So it was like I was like, if I was gonna be in the streets, that's what I would have been.
Okay.
Straight up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm just keeping it 100%.
All
But
right. It's
that
definitely in your bloodline. It would have been too far from your bloodline.
wouldn't be too far, man. Like you come from you come from some crazy folks, but
Anyway. Yeah.
but the whole thing about it is like is what I like about, especially with Sincere, it was like his mom was sick.
Right.
My man was working, doing what he had to do, but his mom was sick and his medication is skyrocketed, like up
Right.
there.
Right.
So then you have to ask yourself, like, what would you do if you was in that position? Because everybody's quick to say, "Oh man, I'll go work at Kit and Caboodles or something or
Yeah. Yeah.
Target or whatever." But this is like this what I like about your style and writing as well, because like you're a writer and you're a director.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So like, when did you realize that was your calling?
Writing, to be honest, my freshman year in college, I had to write a paper And my professor back then, I'm not gonna say the year, she was like, you should think about writing a book, right? And this was before you had independent movies, right? The independent movies as we know it today. This is way before that. Um, and so writing a book was always on the back of my mind. She said that because my writing style, right? The way I would tell stories and I would incorporate my background. I'm writing an essay or on certain topics or what have you, and my writing style incorporating my background into my literature paper. She was like, I think you should write a book. So writing has always been my forte, right? Used to write poetry, used to write poems, and uh, I did a couple years in the feds, and so that time, because I was so upset that I allowed myself to get caught up in that trap, I actually put myself on punishment during those 3 years, and where I didn't watch any television for 3 years. I just read and wrote, read and wrote, read and wrote, right? Started writing a book. Um, so when I came home, I had a couple of things. I had a check off list that I wanted to do. I was going to start my my entertainment company. I was going to write this book. I was going to get into real estate. And I checked off everything. I got my real estate license when I got down here. Um, when I got to writing the book, at this time, you have Money and Violence and Respect Life. That was popping. Those were the web series that's on YouTube, right? And I was watching them, and I like them. I was like, oh, this is dope, you know. And then the hustler in me, the entrepreneur in me, and then remember I was in the sports, so I'm just ultra competitive. I'm like, I know I could write better. I know my pen getting tighter than that. I know it is. You know what I mean? I know it is. And I started when I was watching those web series, I noticed one thing they were doing, and they was marketing some off brands, right? It looked like they was marketing some independent brands, like there was clothing line, t-shirts, hats, things of that nature. I'm like, my son, our clothing brand, we have our clothing brand, but I gave him pretty much full control over it. I just advised him. I started the clothing brand when I was locked up. I came with the concept, started it when I came home. And one day, my son, I'm talking to him. He went to school on a basketball scholarship. So I'm talking to him. And I noticed the camera flashed down. He had on these brand new, probably was Kobe's. And I was like, how much you pay for those? Mind you, I'm paying his rent, right? Because it was D2 scholarship. So I had to pay for the rent. And they lived in a room. So my portion of the rent, I think, was 5 people in there. It might have been like $400. And I'm looking at these sneakers on his feet was more than $400. I'm like, where you get those from? He's smiling. I'm like, all right, okay. I'm breaking my neck. I'm like, you got sisters underneath you. You the oldest. You got sisters underneath you. I'm paying for braces. I'm paying for all of that. And I'm busting my, trying to make sure everybody's straight. And you got on, no, 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 no. So this is what we're going to do. I'm going to turn over the clothing line to you. If you sell 10 t-shirts at $35 a piece, that's your rent a month. That's your rent. And he took it and ran with it. I ain't had to give him no money ever since.
That's what's up.
Here it is, almost 10 years later. And he rebranded, took it from Hustle Gear to Survive Warehouse. I gave him the clothing line. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna write a web series and we're gonna market our own stuff, our own products. He raps. We're gonna put the money. We're gonna do a soundtrack with you rapping, um, and everyone in the show is gonna wear our brand. So if you look at season one, everybody got on Hustle Gear t-shirts and all the t-shirts we had. Everybody had on Hustle Gear t-shirts. A lot of the background music for different scenes was either my son or some local artists. Transition to, excuse me, Sincere. My son pretty much did all the music in that. Um, but so to answer your question, coming back now, fast forward to writing or directing for me is both. I don't think anyone could direct something I wrote better than I can direct it. Right? I took a class. I had this young lady who went to film school, and I proposed to her like, look, you know this stuff because I just jumped in and did it. I learned as I went. I didn't know how to write a script. I didn't know the format of a script. I went to YouTube University. I sat down with this young lady for 2 hours every Saturday for 15 weeks, right? 12 to 15 weeks, every Saturday, 2 hours, and just let her give me a crash course on directing and script format, screenwriting format. And it was pretty helpful. So from then, she was like, look, if you wrote it, you direct it. Because I didn't know the roles. Even when I jumped in, I didn't know the roles. So the guy who I asked to help me film it, because I went through 2 camera crews. The first crew, we almost came to blows. Like
Oh wow.
that's a whole nother episode. But the gentleman who I hired after that, um, he was like, I'll do it if you let me be the director. And I wanted to film it. I'm like, all right, cool. I didn't know what the director did. And so he put his name down as credits for the director. And in hindsight, the actual scene I directed, he came up with a lot of the action because I told you I didn't know how to write the script. So I had no idea how to put the action before the actual scene started, right? Now I know, take your time getting into the scene and then hurry up and get out, right? This is something that I learned. So come to find out when I saw her, she was like, no, if you do this again, if you write, you direct it. So all that to say, it's both for me. A better question would be directing or acting. And because I wrote, directed, and acted in all of these projects, I would prefer writing and directing, less acting. And then this new project, I'm not the star. I'm doing a little bit less acting, right? Maybe got 1 or 2 parts, and I'm thinking about giving that up at the last minute. Like, yo, you do that. Because I want to direct. I want to be able to focus on directing. That's all I want to do. I wrote it. I know what I had in my mind when I wrote it. I put my heart into it. Like when I wrote Sincere, I cried a couple times writing the script because my mom's died. My mom's actually died from cancer, right? So I pulled from that dark place to write that script. So I knew when it came to directing what I needed to see, what I needed to feel, what I wanted that person to feel. So who better to play it but me? Now going forward for this project, I know what I have in my mind. I wrote it, so I want to direct it. I don't want to spend time. I don't want to have to worry about acting and how I look on camera and how that's. I just want to focus on directing. So writing and directing for me is synonymous, and I would choose that over acting.
That
You
makes
know?
sense, man. I feel because it is a lot. And like we were talking about Tyler Perry earlier, man, and I have just the utmost respect for him as a professional and as an artist and a creative man, because it's not easy. And I watched this one documentary that I believe his son's mother, she shot it. She's an Ethiopian sister.
Okay.
And just watching how he interact. And then sometimes I'm like, sorry guys, but as a director, you have to be somewhat of a dick sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Excuse the expression, but you know, I
Yeah.
gotta be that guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're thinking about number one, budget. You know, you're thinking about we have to finish this scene to get to the next, and we
Hmm.
gotta do it in a way where it's gonna make it easy in the editing room. So I completely understand just focusing on directing and writing is much easier as opposed to trying to do all 3 things. Like you're with the film,
Hmm.
Sincere Love, Hello Right.
All right.
Um,
You go. You go. You go. Sorry. Sorry.
mhm. Like you mentioned about, with your mom, but because that was the next question that was coming up, like what was the film about and the title? Like why did you choose that title?
Right. So remember, I told you my projects are centered around moral dilemmas, right? So it was what happened. I was writing season 2 for Hustlerz Paradise. We were just about to start filming. I think we might have shot a scene or two. COVID hit. Everything went on lockdown. And I was like, all right, I gotta do something. That's when most people started their podcast. I actually buckled down, and that's when I wrote the script for Sincere Love Hella Right. Um, I wrote that script during the lockdown, during COVID. So now when we come up out of there, we're ready to go. So I made it a prequel to Hustlerz Paradise. So season one started with him coming home from prison, right after doing a 10-year bid. The prequel ended with him going to prison. So I kind of showed people what happened before. And it was just just being creative, right? Show people what happened before he actually went to prison. So I kept the name Sincere. Remember, I said growing up in North, we went through a 5%er phase in my community. So I subscribe to, I kind of hold dear to supreme mathematics and the alphabet, right? I don't think it takes us out the fold of the being, right? From understanding it. But anyway, so sincere love hella right. 12th letter in the alphabet is L, love. Sincere in his relationship with his mom. He loves his mom. He loves her so much that he's willing to go through hell to make things right, right? And it just fit. It just fit, you know. Sincere love hella right. And when you watch the film, you see he was going through it. You know, he's going through it. Thought his mom's was coming around, and then all of a sudden got hit with the curveball. The doctor was trying some things, and so it just fit. It fit.
How was the film received by the Bermudian community in general and the Muslim community in particular?
Funny, oddly enough, I'm walking up in the masjid, and you got brothers. We got the Wigger brothers down here, right?
Yeah.
They superstar, movie star. Like, and I must admit, like it made me. It was reaffirming, reassuring. It was reassuring. I must admit, like it's warming me. It's giving me a warm feeling right now. Like they was receptive. I thought, and I actually received more criticism from the outside community. The Muslims embraced it, right? And I guess they understand it's entertainment at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
They understand it's entertainment. I try to make representation. I try to give the Muslims some representation in the show without crossing no lines. You know what I mean? So Sincere, he's Muslim, right? In season one, we show him actually offering salat, offering wudu, and the movie starts off with him offering wudu just to set the tone, right? No mistakes about it. The Muslim,
Yeah.
But because Bermuda, remember in the beginning I told you Bermuda's conservative, very conservative down here. They can be conservative and judgmental. So now when it comes to me trying to get sponsorship from these big brands, they're like, I like what you're doing, but the content, and I'm on the phone with big companies like Gosling's, they bring in Hennessy, right? I'm asking for sponsorship, and they're like, we just can't get around the content. I said, but you guys sell Hennessy, and you got road fatalities, all this crime. Like Hennessy is probably
The
at
hypocrisy.
yes. So then I hit it with this. I said, let me ask you something. You guys like power? Oh, we love power. We love power. I said, well, Hustlerz Paradise is like the Bermuda's version of power. Yeah, I know, but so they got their own thing to like deal with, right? Them being hypocrites in their own world.
Yeah.
Criticizing the content, totally ignoring the huge impact that I had on Bermuda as a whole. The first, the first independent filmmaker here.
Mm-hmm.
I have no one here to learn from. Everyone that has gone to school, the guy that owns Channel 82, the independent station that's Fresh TV, all of them had pretty much took their hat off to me like, Speech, shout out to you. I always wanted to do that. They all said the same thing. I always wanted to do it. You did it. I jumped in the deep end. I did it. So now I put myself out there and I'm blazing the trail. I had the machete. I'm cutting through the weeds,
Yeah.
creating this path, right? So much so that now you got acting classes. There was no acting class before I did this, right? And here's some more of the hypocrisy. Bermuda Travel and Tourism. They sponsored a young lady and pay her to host the acting class. Right? Who she calls up? Me. Hey, Fees, you want to send some of your actors over here? Because there's no one here who's aspiring to be an actor because there's no field here. There's no industry here.
Mm-hmm.
Now I just got something else. See somebody else is traveling, Bermuda Travel and Tourism. They paying her to host this master class for acting, film writing, screenwriting. And I'm like,
Wow.
but you don't want to call me? I did it. I did it. You don't want to call me? So it's a lot of hypocrisy, and then sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know, right?
Yeah.
All of that's still prevalent here. So, and I get it. They're probably talking about the content, but like I said, the huge advancements I made, the first independent filmmaker here with the all Bermudian cast, all Bermudian crew, right? You have somebody here, this Caucasian lady, who did a documentary. She did a film, but her film starred some people from the States. You had a couple Bermudians in there as extras, but it's nowhere near what the level what I did, right? So the beef that you have down here within the turf wars per se, territorial wars, I'll say that. Guys from up west beefing with guys in town, guys from the east beefing with guys in the country. I got people from all areas in my projects that have probably never spoke to each other if it wasn't for my project.
Hmm.
I filmed in every nook and cranny of this island. Come on, we're gonna film up Somerset. We filming in town. We got a quick scene on Court Street. We filming down the east. We filming everywhere. You won't highlight that. You just want to talk about the content. What about I got kids that work with me. They get community service. You know, down here you gotta fulfill the community service to graduate.
Mm-hmm.
So I got three kids that have fulfilled their community service who are working with me, helping out behind the scenes, clapper, just being gopher, helping out with the audio. Now the first kid, the oldest one, he's getting ready to graduate. He's going to Toronto for film.
Oh, well, that's
They
what's
don't
up.
want to highlight. They don't want to highlight that though.
Yeah.
They just want to talk about the content.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they want to go home and watch Power. It just don't make sense to me. It just don't make sense to me, you know? So that for me, that was segue into funding, like doing everything out of pocket, trying to get funding, you know, but we'll make it do what it do.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Now, just give us a little walkthrough when it came to the casting and the crew selection process. Like, was it easy to assemble the right team? Like, any key names that you would like to mention as well?
So when it came to the actors in season 1, you know, I understood that authenticity is in the detail.
Mhm.
So when I created these characters, these characters, how can I say this? I had certain people in mind already. So the personalities from this person fits this. Personality from that person fits this. And so I'm like, yo, you feel like you wanna be a part of this? Most people didn't see the vision at first. Now I got everybody, yo, write me in, write me in, write me in. You know, everybody, the funniest thing, they, yo, write me in. I want to be this. And they got their own script ready. I'm like, well, you might as well go write your own show then. Right? But so for season one, I pretty much wrote to their personality. So they didn't really have to act. They didn't have to, they just had to be themselves. Just say this, how you would normally say it, be you. So I made it easy for them. Um, Now for this new project, I want to step my game up and be more on industry standards. So we had auditions. We had auditions, people that have had some acting experience, whether in drama class or doing a commercial. I brought them on. I kind of got all of them. It's on the island, and we did rehearsals. We did table reads.
Hmm.
Had them do acting work. I hired one young lady who actually does voiceovers and acting over in the UK. She lives here. I hire her to do an acting workshop to show the actors how to get into this character, how to get into this, how to get in the character. Um, and then, so now for this project, I'm expecting them to do a little more acting because they're not going to be themselves. They have to act for this project. As far as the crew, I don't know if you know Raíz Tanker. His father, Mr. Tanker, is like a
Yes.
doctor, historian, something like that. His mom's in the education system. Well, he went to school for film. That's my DP.
Okay.
Like I love him, and he's Muslim, right? That's my DP. Shane Woodley, that's my editor. He was the sound engineer or the assistant sound engineer for Rockefeller back during the Rock La Familia, all of those CDs back when Rock La Familia, Beans album,
Okay.
Dipset. He was living over New York for a little bit. I forgot the bass. What's the
Bay
bass
Studio?
bass studio? Yeah,
Baseline Studio.
baseline.
Yeah.
Right. He pretty much camped out in there for a couple
Sure, that's
years
what's up.
working with them. Right. So he's my editor. So I assembled them again. He got burnt out from season one. He didn't really do much in season two. Um, Raíz, Raíz was doing the filming and editing. I end up doing some of the editing for season two. Um, and then so now for this project, Blood on the Crown, I said, yo, we got the Blues Brothers. We got to reassemble. I need to reassemble. Let's go one more time. Let's go one more time. Right. This is gonna be it. Right. And so we're trying to do more industry standard. So, you know, like I said, they're going to be acting. I'm expecting them to act. And I brought the whole crew together. Shane is a top-notch editor. He's probably the best editor on the island, if I
Mm.
say so myself. Raíz is very, um, he knows his angles, he knows his cameras, he knows his lenses, and he knows what he's doing, right? Sometimes he sees things before I see it. I'm like, yo, did you try this? And because his personality, he's like, he'll let you go ahead, try it. And then when you realize, okay, I understand. My reflection is on the screen, or you can see the camera in the reflection on the window. And he's looking like, I'm like, oh, so that's why you don't do it. Okay, I got you. I got you. I got you. I stand down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quiet
But
teacher.
exactly. He's like, yeah, unless you learn on your own, go ahead, go, do it. You know? So I love Ron. I love Ron. I love Ron. I love Ron. But yeah, so that's the crew. And this time we're gonna block out 12 days, 12 filming days. We're gonna block out starting next week. And we're gonna film 10-hour days for these 12 days. For the first time, we got a shooting schedule. The first time, there's a lot of first times for this project. We got a filming schedule. We got locations already ironed out. All the other projects was run and gun. Yo, Ahmed, you can make it. You can make Friday. It's Wednesday. Can you make
Yeah.
Friday? We're gonna film Friday at 12 at 6 o'clock when everybody get off work. What's the location? We're gonna be up Fort Hamilton. What should I wear? Just wear anything. Wear a tracksuit or dress this way. Now it's we got the wardrobe covered. I need you to wear this in this scene. I need you to wear that in this scene. Um, everyone knows how many out of these 10 days, everyone knows how many days I'm going to need them. We just sent that list out. So some actors, I might only need you 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
One of the most important lessons I learned was when it comes to independent films, you have to shoot based on location. I was trying to film in chronological order, and so I don't have the budget for that. All right. Um, so it's taking us forever to get done. We're leaving this location, going to film here, then coming back to film at this location. Now we lock in a location. We're gonna shoot every scene we got at this location.
Mm-hmm.
You got to change clothes. You got to do your hair a different way. Boom. Once we leave that location, we don't have to come back there no more. And now we move on to the next location. You might have the third scene, the 10th scene, and the 24th scene at this third location. We're going to film all those scenes before we leave there. And that's what's different this go round. Right? It's a lot more. I can't even say a little. It's a lot more organized, a lot more organized. And I think I remember when I first started, they was like, I forgot, they might have said like 80% of the work is done in pre-production.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that now. And I've put in like 80% of that work so far in just pre-production, right? So I really believe that it's going to show in the end product. You know, I believe it's going to show in the end product. I'm super excited. Blood on the crown.
Inshallah, that's what's up, man. So your project, Blood on the Crown, just give us a little bit of information, like what inspired you to create this particular project.
So, like I said, I'm ultra competitive, right? Most artists just want to be respected for their works, right? And, you know, it's not even a money thing. You just want to be respected for your work.
Mm-hmm.
And I know people are looking at Hustlerz Paradise as some street stuff. Yeah, anybody could write that, right? I wanted to write something. I was thinking about legacy as well. I wanted to write something that was going to leave a mark. I was going to leave an imprint. I was going to get some conversation started. And I watched Judas and the Black Messiah, and
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I like that. I like it. Fred Hampton, I'm like, I like that. And when I looked, somehow I stumbled across this story called, where Bermuda kind of had their own. I wouldn't say he was. I wouldn't say he was a Fred Hampton, but you had two guys that conspired to take out the government, right? And I did some research. I read books, and depending on what was interesting, depending on what book you read, it gave you a different perspective.
Mm-hmm.
If you read this book, Island Flames, this is from a cop's perspective, and they just called these guys, just they labeled them just criminals on a crime spree.
Mm-hmm.
In this book by a guy named Keto Swan, Black Power movement in Bermuda, and they looked at him like Black Robin Hood. So now I started to dig up and I pull up some newspaper clippings and different articles, and I learned like, okay, this will be dope. Now I don't have the budget like Judas and the Black Messiah where I could dress everybody in peacoats and get the old cars. So I said, you know, I gotta be creative. How can I tell this story and get around all the legal aspects of it? And basically say, you know what, let me reimagine the story. What would it look like if it happened in today's time? And I wrote the script looking at it from that lens. If it happened now, the gist of the story was these two guys, they killed the governor, they killed the police commissioner. And at that time, the actual story took place in 72. At that time, capital punishment had been abolished by the UK for like 30 years. In like 1945, they abolished death by hanging.
Mm-hmm.
They were so pissed at these two dudes, they death by hanging. They sentenced them to death by hanging, you know? And that actually led to the 1977 riots of Bermuda,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I took those 5, 7 years remixed it as if it happened today, remixed it again and trim the fat to condense it into a hour and a half, hour and 45-minute film, right? Like a 90-page script. So the pacing it's going to be fast paced. It might slow down. So it's a thriller because it's going to give you some roller coasters and it's going to give you some ups and downs and it's going to be kind of fast paced. But it's dramatic and it's some historical content in there mixed up with some creative juices to make it appealing. But what I said was I took the name out of the title because it was Blood on the Crown, inspired by Buck Burrows and Larry Tackman. Those were the name of the two individuals. But I just put Blood on the Crown. And those people who know, when they see it, they'll be like, something like that happened down here. It didn't happen like that, but it happened. Let me tell you how it happened. So if I could start that conversation, I did my job, right? Let me add something that let me know I was on the right track. I asked 10 people, are you familiar with this story? And 5 outright said no. No. 3 was like, I heard about it. I think I heard about it, but tell me about it. 2 was like, oh yeah, I know about that. And the ages range. I said, I challenge you to ask 10 people in the States about Huey Newton and the Black Panther Party. All 10 of them going to tell you, right? And that's also something I read down here that it wasn't no surprise. Like they removed that from the history book. Like they like, no, we don't want them to know this. So the schools don't know nothing about it, right? So when I put this out, I know it's gonna ruffle some feathers, right? I tried to be unbiased and let the people judge whatever they take from it. Let them start the conversation. I try not to sensationalize or make them a hero, but I just tried to personalize these individuals, right? Because they got them. You see some people with shirts. You see their names on shirts, but nobody knows who they are, right? I tried to personalize them. Like these were people, his brother's still living. I know somebody who was locked up with him. I interviewed some people on the ground that was, ran with him. So it's inspired by. It's not a biography. It's not based on. It's inspired by. The events might be exaggerated. The events might be twisted, but it happened, but it didn't happen like that. So if I start the conversation, when it's said and done, there go my brand intact once again.
Yeah, alhamdulillah, I like that, man.
Yeah.
Like how we mentioned it earlier about budgeting. How important is it? How important is budgeting when it comes to film and TV projects for those out there?
So, as you know, everything's expensive here. Because I am who I am, a lot of people came on board. Like the actors, I've given them exposure. I'm giving them experience. I'm giving them exposure. I'm giving them a chance to be a part of history. Right? So they're volunteering. The crew, camera guy, the editor, they're not charging what they could charge me, right? Because, the way I spill it to them and they rock with me, right? And they believe in the project as well. And they also know they get to be a part of history. Their name is attached to something major. So all my other projects came out of pocket. And we had one donation from Bermuda Arts Council, I think it was. They donated, they gave a couple dollars, and that kind of went straight to the crew. This project, Blood on the Crown, I actually have an investor. Yeah, so everything is expensive down here, and trying to get funding, you really got to understand. How can I put it? When you understand the economic structure here, we import everything. It's a small community of 65,000 people. You have companies that they obtain sole distribution rights because it's so small. So if I bring it in, you bring it in, they bring it in, we competing against each other. So you get sole distribution rights, I bring it in. And now you guys got to buy it from me. All the mom and pop stores got to buy it from me, right? So I used to work for one of these distribution companies. And the realest thing he said to me, two things he said. The realest thing he said to me was, yeah, let's say they brought in Hennessy. So the mother company of Hennessy would give them some sponsoring, some marketing dollars. You keep that. I ain't got to market nothing. Where else you gonna buy it from? You gotta buy it from my store. I'm the distributor for it. I'm the only distributor for it. So I ain't gotta give. So now, so what they do when people have they have shows and these parties and they say sponsored by Bacardi, sponsored by this company, sponsored by that company. What they really mean is they're gonna give us some liquor up front. Whatever we don't open, we get to give back. That's how the sponsorship for those companies go. They ain't putting up no money. There's no need. What you got to do is tap into the mom and pop stores. Like, look, I'll give you some, let's barter. Let me film here. You'll get some free product placement. Or that's what I did in season 1. Then as I moved on, season 2, now I'm selling product placements and sponsorship. Like, look, we'll shoot a scene at your location for this price. You know what I mean? We did that for Sincere. A couple of people bought in. So because I'm introducing something new, they don't understand marketing and promoting. They don't understand product placement. They don't understand this terminology. They looking like, what? For what? What am I paying you for? And when I break the numbers down to them, I'm like, yo, you're gonna pay, let's say you're gonna pay however much you pay to film a commercial. Then you're gonna pay the TV station, let's say ZBM, the local news station, to air it for a week. However much you pay them, I think it was like $1,600. I did the math. After that week is gone. Now, if you look at season 1, we got over 100,000 views on YouTube for season 1. Your commercial, the viewership of your commercial will far exceed that $1,600 that you spent for that 1 week on Western Air. So if I charge you $1,600, you get your ROI just constantly goes up.
Yeah.
I mean, it just constantly goes up.
Like who's robbing who?
Exactly. So they don't. So I have to sit them down and actually give them this spill, and that's the tough part. So the budget. To answer your question, so now because I was working out of pocket for those projects, it was tough. Here now in this project now, I actually have an investor, and this project actually feels like a real independent project with deadlines and budgets, and I have to make money to pay this investor. Like, you know what I mean? So now I'm starting to feel the pressure. One of my actors, my son who lives away, he's coming down. Remember, I told you I blocked out a 10 days in the month of April for filming. He's coming down. I think I only got him for 8. Remember, I told you that I had a schedule that showed the actors how many days I need them. Out of those 10 days, I would need 2 actors for 9 days. Mm-hmm. But my son is one of them who has the starring role. He was doing acting classes up there, right? I need him for 9 days based on the schedule, but I only got him for 8. Mm-hmm. So one of these days we're gonna go, instead of going to 10, we're gonna go probably 12 or 2 in the morning. Yeah. You know what I mean? To make it do. So I'm really starting to feel some of the pressure that I can only imagine would be 10x if the budget was 10x and the project, you know what I mean? So it's good. But budgeting is definitely important. If you could get it for free. I know, especially, sometimes people like us, hustlers, we don't like asking for nothing. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna do it anyway. Right? I'm gonna do it anyway. I'm gonna do it, and I'll ask for forgiveness afterwards. That's been my run and gun style. So, I don't know if you knew when we shot a scene with prop guns, and someone took a picture of it, and we shot it in the middle of town on the steps of City Hall, and it made the front page. It made the front page. The police is having a gun exercise on the lawn of City Hall. I had detectives, I had the police calling me, I had detectives calling me. I literally had to get my lawyer involved.
Wow.
And she hushed it. She hushed it. But since then, they're trying to come up with a policy. Because there's no industry down here, there is no policy. It's just ask for permission, right? And they'll take 3 weeks to answer you. So I'm gonna do it. And instead of asking for permission, I'll take 3 weeks asking for forgiveness. You know what I mean? So it's important the budgeting is important. If you don't have to pay, don't. Try to negotiate every penny so you can make that budget stretch. You know what I mean? You can stretch and actually get. I feel I live by this. I actually, if I was a gambling man, I would be willing to bet that I could contend with some of the best of the independent filmmakers up there. And the reason I say that is, if you look at what I've done, it's kind of like fighting with one hand behind your back. Right? Kind of like fighting with one hand behind your back. Because I don't have access to half the things they have access to up there.
Yeah.
I've seen people with more access shooting a music video up there than what I got down here.
Yeah.
I can't shoot I don't have no prison cell to shoot, right? I don't have can't use a cop car. I got a makeshift courtroom. Like if you look at season 1, little fun fact. Sorry. Look at season 1, and the fun fact, the guns are made out of cardboard. My son made those guns out of cardboard, spray painted them black. Some of them I try to make it chrome, put some aluminum foil on there. Made out of cardboard.
Yeah.
So it's like, don't get no close up of this. Tell the camera guy, look, don't get no close up on this. Like,
Wide shot from deep.
Yeah, like word. Like, you know what I'm saying? So all of that, man, like, I don't like, if I had access, I just keep telling myself, if I had access to half the stuff they got access to, if I showed you the original script, man, this will probably be a fun fact later on in life. If I show you the original script versus to what I had to compromise and improvise, you'd be like, wow, if you would have been able to shoot the original script, that would have been fire. You know what I mean? But so it go. You know what I mean? We gonna make it do. We improvise. The hustlers are also improvisers.
Absolutely.
Right? We gonna improvise. We gonna make it do what it do. I got 3 people for this scene, or 4 people supposed to be in this scene. The day of, somebody called me, I can't make it. I gotta. All right, cool. You know what? Where's my pen at? Cross that out. You say these lines. Boom. We got to go forward. We can't. I don't have a budget to reschedule the day and reschedule the scene, and we come back tomorrow or come back when they can make it. All right, cool. You take these lines. We'll edit here. What point am I really trying to get across? All right, let's do that. Let's make sure we get this point across. I make sure you say this or say that to move the story along. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, budget is good. If I had access to just access is even better, right? But those are my challenges. Budget, local businesses, understanding product placement, understanding sponsorship, and then local businesses supporting the project where they'll let you shoot on location. Escape Room. There's a company called Escape Room. I'm familiar with Escape Room. I know it's a franchise away, right? There's an escape room here. I've been in there for like a job outing. They use it for socializing and build camaraderie. They have a jail cell. Looks just authentic, like actual jail cell. Like gave me flashbacks. I hit them up. Hey, working on this project. I'd love to use can we use your jail cell as a scene in the location? I won't reveal none of your secrets for the escape room. They're like, we don't really support the content. All right, cool. You know what I mean? So it's just having access to a lot of this stuff. A lot of people was like, I get that. A lot of people are like, oh, I don't support that content. Once again, conservative place, but they're all sitting at home watching Power.
Yeah,
that's what's crazy. That's what's crazy. But
yeah.
budget is definitely important. Budget is definitely important.
So an aspiring filmmaker, like, should they wait until they secure funding or start creating with whatever resources they have? I mean, this is...
Yeah, I'll be a hypocrite if I said, wait until you secure funding. I'm sure it has its pros and cons, but I'm that person that I'm not waiting.
Yeah.
I didn't wait to learn how to write a script. I just did it. I mean, I didn't wait until as a matter of fact, you can attest to this. How did you learn how to swim? You learned how to swim down here or up there?
I learned how to swim down in Bermuda, man.
How did you learn?
Two ways, right? Well, initially,
Go ahead.
my dad just threw me overboard. I doggy
End of
paddled
discussion.
back. I never got back in the water because I was like, hell no, kid from Harlem, only got sharks in there. Then one day, this is like after my first year of high school, we guys went down by the docks in St. George's because that's where I grew up. And all my boys going and jumping in. I was just there because I'm like, man, I don't know what's underneath that water, kid from Harlem. I
Right.
see this little girl jump in. She had to be like 4 years old. I said, nah, hell nah. I jumped right in, and it's been like ever since, man.
Exactly. And so it's in the culture. It's in us.
Yeah.
That's how I learned how to swim. That's how I taught my son how to swim. He's screaming, go dunk, go dunk. You know what I'm saying? I just jumped in. I said I could do it. I just jumped in.
Yeah.
Funny thing is, the person I took the classes with, she was of the mindset, you need to wait until you got this. You need to wait until you got all the acting roles filled, because what about chemistry? Da, 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 da. Man, I didn't want to hear none of that.
None of that, yeah.
I'm ready to go. We gonna go. Right? You know what I mean? People are more, what I've learned, I feel like I'm yelling. That's the passion.
That's so good.
That's the passion.
I was getting that.
So people are more inclined to jump on a train that's already moving, because there's less time to ask questions. It's moving. I ain't got all data. You sure? Where you said it's stopping? You said it's stopping in Harlem? What street in Harlem? You sure? You sure it's stopping in Harlem? Yo, train out. We pulling off. We stopping in Harlem. You either believe us or you don't. But all right, they on there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They don't want to be left. And that's
right.
that's what I'm learning. Right. We talked about lessons. I just jumped in. I learned how to write the script later. I learned what it means to be a director later. I learned the importance of lighting later. I learned the actual format of a script and how to put the action in there before the dialogue. My man used to say, so where he come from? What was he doing? He just popped up. Right? I'm like, just walk from behind there. Like, right? So I actually learned all of that by doing. You know what I mean? By doing. So for me, I learned the practical side first, and then I got the theoretical side. I learned about the 180 rule after the fact.
Yeah.
Right. I learned about the lighting after the fact. So each project brought about something else. Right. So season 1, I learned the importance of writing action in the script, and I learned the importance of audio. Audio. There was a lesson there for audio. And then when I did Sincere, I learned the importance of lighting. Right? It's like, oh, Okay, because before I was just like, shoot it. He was like, this type of lens only allows this much light in, the aperture. I'm like,
Yeah.
man, none of that. And let's shoot it, man. Turn the
Let's
camera
shoot it.
on.
Yeah, yeah,
Hey, let's shoot it. I'm looking at the screen. It look all right to me. Like, yeah, but where you? So I learned that, light the subject, light it. We could darken it in the post production, but you can't lighten it in post production.
no, sir.
And that was a hard lesson. You know what I mean? So sincere, you hit me up, was like, yo, let me try something with your coloring. A lot of that,
Hmm. Hmm.
because it was dark. It was dark, especially sincere. That project was dark when you look at that, because that was the lesson for lighting. Season two, we struggled with some audio issues. Um, but I think, like I said, this project here, Blood on the Crown, we did. Bring the audio. Let's test that out. Let's got the lighting. You know what I mean? When purchase some lights, we got the lighting
Oh, that's what's up.
and making sure everything is up to par.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but I would definitely say do, because sometimes people can't see the picture until they see the flash, right? So do, and then it might be easier for you to go back and say, hey, I'm trying to get a budget here, trying to get some funding, trying to do this, trying to do that. Otherwise, you just got to get people to believe in your project or to believe in what you're telling them, and that you might take you 2 years.
Hmm.
2 years, what you wrote, you may not be feeling it. It's like doing an album or you making a song. You're like, I'm not feeling that no more. That's not the space I'm in.
Yeah.
You know? So I would definitely say do it, and tawakkul, trust in Allah,
That's right.
trust that if it's as Muslims we believe that if it comes easy, that was your destiny. That's what you should be doing if it comes easy,
That's right.
and having trust and knowing that I'm not doing nothing illegal, and it's come easy for me. I learned how to do this. I put these projects out. Meanwhile, people who've been in the industry down here for so many years still haven't put a project out. So it's definitely come easy for me. So I'm thankful. So I just trust in a lot. Like the funding gonna come.
Yeah.
Like this last my investor for this project, dude, hit me. I met him in here just in passing. I had spotted him on the bench a couple times. That was it. He hit me. He hit me up in my DM. Was like, "Yo, I really like what you're doing. I support what you're doing." Because by now I had started pushing Sincere Love Hella Right again, because it's on Tubi. So I'm like, let me do some marketing, generate some views over there.
Hmm.
And he hit me up like, "Yo, I just want you to know, keep grinding, keep doing what you're doing. I love what you're doing. I support it. If you need any help, let me know." I'm like, he like, I'm like, well, what do you do? And he told me, he said something about I can make so that you're editing your real time edits. So when you do an edit, you don't have to wait and buffer and everything
Oh,
reset
yeah.
to
Ooh,
see.
boy.
You know what I mean? He's like, I can speed
Yeah.
up your computer so that when you real time edit, when you edit and you clip it, right? You hit and it's there.
Yeah, that's
I'm
what's
like,
up.
what? And then so he said he could do that. And then I was like, that's what I really need. And he was like, I could actually I was giving him a spill in the conversation. And he was like, I can help out with that too. So it just came.
Wow.
I ain't ask him. It just came. And this guy, I've been seeing this guy, never had a conversation with him. He was slid in the DM. I'm like, alhamdulillah. That was definitely from by Allah.
Yeah.
So definitely do. It's meant to be, it's gonna be. You know what I mean? It's meant to be, it's gonna be. It's gonna come somehow, some way,
Hmm.
you know. But definitely do. I would wait. I got a line in part of the script in season one. Wait broke the bus. You know what I mean? Wait
Yeah.
broke the bus. So shout out to my man Haas. Wait broke the bus.
They
So
broke-
I'm not waiting. I'm not
Yeah,
waiting.
absolutely. So how has streaming and social media changed opportunities for like independent filmmakers and for yourself?
I mean, from looking at it, same way it had changed for independent rappers. Like you're responsible for the whole shebang. You're
Mm-hmm.
responsible for the marketing. You're responsible for the branding. You're responsible for the product. If you're working with a timeline, you're responsible for that. You're responsible for the rollout. You know, um, all of these things, like I said, uh, I learned after the fact. You know what I mean, so blood on the crown. I actually have a rollout plan that you'll see when we start 24th of May. As you know, there's a big holiday down here.
Mm-hmm.
If all, inshallah, we got a float planned, and I'm going to market it like someone's really locked up, and we trying to
Oh,
get them
that's
out.
what's up. That's
You know what
what's
I
up.
mean? We trying to get them out. So people gonna really think, oh, who's that? Who's Passy? Oh, you know what I mean? And then when they see, it's like, oh, blood on the crown. See that spray painted all over. I got guerrilla marketing tactics that we going. The whole rollout is going to be. I think it's going to be impressive. That's so I got somebody doing that's delegated just for behind the scenes because I definitely need to capture that.
Yeah, yeah, for
You know,
sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah,
definitely need to
that's what's
capture
up.
that. Definitely need to
Man,
capture that.
that's what's
Yeah.
up, man. Um, when do you think that's who you looking to like launch that project?
Um, we're hoping to. We're not hoping. The game plan is we're going to film next week. Start next week, the 11th, for 10 days. My editor, part of his agreement, I need turnaround time in 3 weeks. 3 weeks, right? We're not doing that what we did season one. And yo, send me a clip, man. I need to see something. And he sent me a clip, and I marketed that clip for like 2 weeks. I'm like, yo, you ain't finished that? All right, well, send me another clip. I need to market something. No, you got 3 weeks. Pay you this in 3 weeks to edit it. Um, Included in that, I need 2 trailers. Boom. So to answer your question, the weekend before cut match, as you know, cut match is a big holiday centered around Emancipation Day.
Mhm.
What better way to jump off Emancipation weekend than with the film Blood on the Crown, like of this substance?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So we plan on, marketing the whole summer, doing carnival and all of that. And then just when everybody's coming off of that high, getting ready for cut match that weekend before that, boom, I want to do the premiere and send them into Emancipation weekend fired up.
Cool.
So as you're looking like July 26th,
July
I'm hoping to
26th.
have the premiere, inshallah, weekend before or the weekend after cut match, inshallah.
Inshallah. One of
Yeah.
your actors, he played Critter. He recently passed away.
Oh,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, I like this character, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Can you share some history on like how you know him, how you knew him, and what impact did he have on your project, and how did his passing affect, the whole process?
That's 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 dope. That's interesting. Um, Critter, he was locked up, and towards the end of his bid, they love Hustlerz Paradise up in the behind the wall. The CEOs of platform, and it they knew people in it. They knew the locations, and they was like, "This is our own." They embraced it, right? So I'm probably like some of their heroes up there, probably, right? They like, "Yo," when they was asking for season, asking for the next episode, asking for the next season, and Critter was one of them. Critter knew I was Muslim.
Hmm.
Critter had just became Muslim. So Critter had reached out to a mutual friend. And at the time, I was a couple of people was like, "Oh, I want to meet him. He wanted to meet me. He wanted to meet me. He wanted to meet me." I was like, "All right, cool." I was busy. And I wasn't just I just was busy. And I was like, "All right, all right." And then one day I actually ran into him and I was with my uncle. Um, my uncle knew Critter from back in the day. So he gave my uncle the utmost respect. They spoke, and then he introduced himself. "Yo, I'm Critter, da 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 da." He's like, "Oh, I've been trying to reach out to you." Da, 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 da. And when he told me that he had just took his Shahada and he was Muslim, that brotherhood that I speak about, that I'm used to, I embraced him. You know what I mean? Like, sort of like, when you get locked up, you go to the Muslims and you Muslim? Assalamu alaikum. What you need? Some headphones, some sneakers, some food. I'm just gonna be a while for your money hit your books. Just put it in Sadaqah and you got it. You ain't gotta give it back, but pay it forward when it's your time. You know? So I just embraced him. I'm like, take my number. We used to get together like Saturdays. We probably did it for about a month. We would get together Saturdays, like a little halakha, just build. You know what I mean? Talk about the deen. I would enlighten them on from what I knew, what little bit I knew. And he was very impactful for a lot of the brothers that took Shahada up Somerset.
Mm-hmm.
But that's where he was from.
Oh, he's from
So
Somerset. Okay.
yeah, like he knows people from up that way. And I'll get to that. So we talk, we just build. Like, oh, I got a character for you, man. I want you to be a part of this. Like, all right, cool, I got you. Like, yeah, I got you. Um, one weekend we shot one scene at the location, and like I told you, I used to do calling people, yo, can you make Saturday? We're gonna shoot Saturday. It's Wednesday. We're gonna shoot Saturday. Can you make it? All right, cool. This time, sure. Don't forget. All right, all of that. Like a Wednesday night, I told him, yo, Saturday we gonna shoot. Make sure you free. Make sure available. I got you, Fees. I got you. And I want to say my days might be wrong, but I want to say it basically we were supposed to. If Saturday was the day we were supposed to film, he died Friday night.
SubhanAllah.
Right? SubhanAllah. On the bike accident. They say he fell asleep while riding, coming home. He was on parole, so I think he had to make his curfew. So he died on the bike accident. And once again, hustlers are improvisers. I asked his mother. Actually, he had talked to his daughter and told his daughter that he was going to be in the movie. So she was souped up about it. So I was like, I didn't want to take that scene out. I could have easily reshot the scene because we only shot that one scene. I could have easily reshot it, but I thought it would have been more impactful to leave it. And I asked his mother, she was okay with it. She was okay with it. I told her, his daughter was looking forward to it. I met his baby mother, or his daughter's mother, and they was okay. She told me how much the daughter was looking forward to it. So we left it, and I had to improvise the rest of the script, right? Where I had him supposed to be in certain scenes and certain scenes and certain storylines and certain plot twists. So I had to improvise. So that scene where I'm actually on the phone pretending I got a phone call, getting a phone call from his sister saying that he had died. Well, I'm waiting for him because we was about to go do a heist. That was all improv. All improv, right? Like that was all improv. You know what I mean? Like I said, we were scheduled to film this day. He died that day, the day before. So I kind of treated it like I just got the phone call and we're going to shoot this thing. We're waiting on him. And I just got the phone call. This how it happened. And I threw the phone. That was like a real live reaction. Threw the phone up against the wall. And when we talk about method acting, that was my not even knowing that was method acting, but I felt it. Like, you know what I mean? So that hit home. We do the funeral, and I want to help lower the body into the ground. And a lot of his friends up there come to find out this brother was giving dawah to everybody up there. Like, Allahu Akbar. He was giving dawah to everybody. Like, I'm meeting people and they like, oh yeah, I met Critter. He was telling me about da 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 da. Oh yeah, I met Critter. Now, a couple of brothers he introduced me to, which my words to them was like, we met by Allah through Critter. So we need to cherish this. So we maintain a friendship, and because of Critter, I want to say, what's the Sadaqah Jariyah
Jadia,
that,
yeah.
that keeps on giving?
Mm-hmm.
May Allah reward him because brothers is giving Shahada. Brothers, he gave dawah to has taken Shahada, and these brothers are giving dawah to other brothers that's taking Shahada. And the community up there is growing because of Critter. I can honestly say, and I believe they'll attest to it because of Critter.
Yeah.
So alhamdulillah for that. And that was interesting. I had to improvise, and it affected everything moving forward. What I tried to do was incorporate somebody that he was cool with, and I was like, yo, I made that his sister,
Mhm.
right? Because he looked at it as his sister in real life. So I'm like, yo, it'd be right. Come represent for Critter. You play this part. You know what I'm saying? So it worked. It worked.
All right, my brother. Where can people find your work, and how can they connect with you on social media?
On social media, I'm at Hafiz underscore is IZ underscore is back. Hafiz is back on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. Hustlers Paradise on TikTok with a Z. And then you can find Sincere Love Hella Right on Tubi and Amazon Prime. And you can find Hustlers Paradise on Tubi. There's a couple other independent platforms that have picked it up, such as Foursome, like Future Today, um, Hulu, Roku. Roku picked it up. Both projects is on there. I'm in the process of uploading season 2 now. Right, and just my distributor that I use, they so technical. Sometimes I have to take a break from them because it frustrates me. Right, it frustrates me. So I'm in the process of uploading season 2 on to the distributor, and I'm sure Tubi will pick it up as well.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Wonderful. So I'd like
yeah,
to just close out, just with a simple dua, and
yeah,
I would say it in English, of course.
yeah.
May Allah elevate us so that we can exalt His name. Ameen.
I mean. Yes, I mean.
Thank you for chiming
But
in, my brother. It was good chopping up with you. Inshallah, we'll do
yeah,
more.
inshallah, man. This was felt like therapy. Felt like therapy. I don't know. You see, I get to talking loud when I get passionate. The wife be telling me, "You yelling." The neighbors going. So that's why I say, you know what? I'm going to the gym, and can't nobody tell me I'm getting too loud. It's
Exactly.
my second home anyway, and
Yeah.
let me do me, man. You know what I mean? Alhamdulillah, like I said, the pleasure is all mine. Um, May Allah reward you, and
Ameen.
just make us successful, man. Put us in position to provide for our families. Because at the end of the day, that's what we want to do, right? That's
That's
what we
right.
do. We love what we do, but at the end of the day, we want to provide, and may he allow us to make this a loud living.
Ameen.
And, I mean,
Yeah.
shukran, shukran.
Afan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.